I think Mirr Ranch Group is probably the preeminent ranch brokerage in Colorado and the West and even beyond. It just there's no comparison to the experience of the brokers and their drive to get good things done, good projects with good people. It's really just unparalleled.
When I was 12, I was thinking I'd be a soccer player somewhere in Europe or whatever. My mom told me once, it's not about the money, it's about the journey. And I don't know if I would change much.
I spent 5 years of my life guiding hunts between college and graduate school. And post-grad school, I worked in the commercial real estate business. And I met a guy who I was doing business with. And he said, Hubbard, with your background and your experience, I got a buddy that's starting a ranch brokerage out in Colorado, and you really ought to seriously consider this. And the rest is history.
The only thing I ever wanted to do was just work on a ranch. In fact, I didn't even know that, another world existed, didn't care about it. So I met Ken. He used to bring a lot of clientele up to the ranch that I was assistant manager on, and Ken and I kind of hit it off. We became friends, and then eventually he asked me if I wanted to come to work for him, and the rest is history.
So I've known Ken Mirr for almost 15 years now, and he's been a mentor, a friend, and somebody who I can count on to bounce ideas off of and to think about conservation, think about real estate, think about ranching. We love working with MRG, we love working with the team. They stand out because of their ethics, their principles, what they believe in, which is the shared vision for Colorado and the West that we have, which is to keep these spaces open, keep them working, keep these landowners here, and we really appreciate that.
When I started, it was maybe 2 years out of college, and I had been at like a big corporate America job for a while. And then when I started, I was like, oh, this is nice. You come into work, you feel like you're actually needed, like the business won't run without you. And I liked kind of the teamwork yet competitiveness of all the guys in the group. Not to mention, we call them field trips, but like being able to go to these ranches and be like, okay, this is pretty cool. It was a slow trickle, but I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity and be here because I kind of know every piece of the business at this point.
Tell people back in the day, you couldn't download a map. You had to go to the state or the county records and do all those things. Those are the things what it takes to be good.
The access of data has changed so much. Like we're able to get water rights that you used to have to like go through, the attics of these ranches and see the water rights and try to figure out who owns what.
One client, he called me and I was somewhere on the road and he said, can you meet me at this airport tomorrow? I want to look at this ranch. And so I arrive, the next day. I don't know much about him, but I did some research to know that he was capable. And I'll never forget, he arrived and take him down and show him the ranch. And he goes, I like this. I go, great. And he said, do you have a contract? And I said, no. And he said, well, you're not prepared to do business, son. So that was a learning lesson. And this was from a Fortune 500 buyer who since became a very important client. So, I laugh at some of those things, but that's one memorable event.
The values are a whole hell of a lot different now than they were 20 years ago. But that's a testament to the strength of the asset. The transfer of information, the ability to, in effect, show a ranch without actually going to the ranch is just extraordinary. I mean, it's night and day. It's changed a lot, but the fundamentals are still pretty much the same. If you work hard and you're straightforward and you're honest, it seems to work okay still.
The amount of wealth that's been created over the past 20, 30 years is just, it has changed the market completely. And so you now are working with a lot of different types of individuals and families and wealth. So those things have changed wildly. The methods of marketing, it used to be, you put a classified ad in a newspaper, and now you've got to do videos, and stuff like that. But you know, you really got to go out and take this to different levels. We're doing podcasts and we're doing all these things, which are lovely and fun and great for educating people. But you have to keep up with that. You have to have the vision. You have to keep going out because the way of communication with people has changed so dramatically.
It used to be just Ken and Jeff taking on the West and ragtag little duo. But we've brought on a lot of new faces and we've expanded into a lot of different states. So we have a really good team. And beyond just like the expertise and the knowledge base of the guys, I mean, we lean on each other quite a bit. Like Erica, Izzy, Allison, like our digital marketing team, like we lean on each other so much and they keep the Mirr Ranch Group brand going. We're a smaller group, but we pack a punch.
The thing that hasn't changed about all of this is the land. I mean, and that's the beauty of why we do what we do, and especially when you find good stewards who keep the land. We do play a role in some of what we do, and some of our properties are developed, and that's fine, where there's a place for that, certainly. But, you know, as you look around even where we're at here today, that hasn't changed. And that's the wonderful part about this, is, you know, maintaining these places. That's important to me, and so that's a good reason why I'm involved in things like the Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust.
I've been incredibly fortunate to work with Ken on this as someone who's really a visionary and really likes to think outside the box and kind of beyond traditional norms, and you know, how do we deliver new programs, new services to advance CCALT's mission and to really, you know, advance the conservation and stewardship of working landscapes here in Colorado.
I think Ken has immersed himself in conservation and made conservation real estate really his specialty. I think the knowledge of conservation and being able to point landowners to viable options that they should consider if they have a conservation ethic in mind, Ken and his crew is that kind of crew.
I knew what I liked to do, but I also knew I didn't grow up hunting. You know, I did not. And so when I met Jeff and Pat, I mean, they were the expert hunters. They knew this business and they knew what habitats had to go with it. And I realized, oh, we need that type of person. They were just good people and quite the team. So I realized that is not my bailiwick, and nobody's going to trust me to tell them about what makes, you know, this great elk habitat, right? So I knew I needed that. You know, somebody like Jared. I understand agriculture, I understand water, I understand all these things, but I don't necessarily understand what it means to grow up on a ranch. I don't understand what it always means to, you know, what grasses appeal, you know, are good for cows. What does irrigation look like, you know? So it's experiences that people have and trusting that they can do those things. But they also just had to be good people. In the end, for me, it's the people. I trust in them and just be well-rounded people.
Some of Pat's clients are some of the biggest hunters in the world. Like, you don't just get that. You really need to kind of be in the industry in some capacity to be able to grow that network. And I've seen it, you know, I've seen Jared's patience, I've seen some of these new guys, Willie and Harry, the patience they have, because it's not easy. But then you work your butt off and you're patient with it, and then these deals kind of start to happen, and you build that reputation within the industry, and people start to work with you. But they have to trust you first, and they have to know that you're going to do a good job. So it just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience with that.
A lot of these buyers, they don't have a lot of on-the-ground knowledge that they need when they're acquiring some of these properties. So I've been able to kind of get them comfortable. And in fact, there's a lot of properties that I've sold throughout my career that I continue to consult on, you know, 14 years after the sale.
I think this is the case in any business. You read your client and ask good questions and make sure that you understand what their vision is, and then within the context of the ranch world, you try and execute a deal. And I think that's, you know, there's a lot to that. It sounds kind of stupid, but it, you know, that's something I take a lot of pride in. Naturally, we interact, represent, deal with really high net worth individuals, many, if not most of whom are self-made, a lot of rags to riches kind of bootstrap stories, which I have a ton of respect for. It's inspiring to hear people's stories, and there's so much to learn from folks like that. That's one of the perks of this business is the people that you deal with.
You know, there's really nowhere in Wyoming that I can drive that there's not something that I've had my hands on. And in 14 years, I'm really proud of that. My dad always told me to never do anything that you weren't proud of. You know, this journey's been awesome, and it's also an incredible responsibility. I feel directly responsible for every property I've ever laid hands on or sold or represented, and it's our job to make sure that the new owner has all the tools necessary to be a good steward of the land.
I think Ken has just done such an amazing job by pulling in so many talented brokers with skills that run the gamut of things that make these properties so special. He's just been an absolute leader in the field, and one that I think the brokers that work with you all, as well as those of us in the field, just respect to such a great deal.
We have a really strong team, and again, they're very loyal. We have fun. We've also had a sense lately of more and more of brokers working as teams together. The more we continue to work together, we find the strengths and weaknesses in all of us to help make that work, and it's been great. Not just teams within the office, but teams within the brokerages themselves.
I've known Pat for a long time, and we had a lot of mutual trust, and it's just been an extraordinary partnership. And now we've brought on a new junior partner, Willie Straza, who is incredible. He's young and he's up to speed on all the technology and the systems and the client relationship management and the things that I'm too old to learn, you know. I just cannot overemphasize how critically important my partners have been in my career and my success.
It's a very ethical operation, and ethics is so important these days, and it's a quality that seems to be slipping away in the business world. And in all my dealings with Mirr Ranch Group and its brokers, which have been many, I respect them greatly for their ethical behavior. They're setting an example in the community.
I couldn't conjure up a better way to father my kids, and a lot of that is because of what I do. And so it's yet another one of the great things about being in this business.
So working in a somewhat family business with my dad can be sometimes challenging to kind of create that division between, okay, we're working now, and now we're, Dad and Haley. But it's also really rewarding because now I know what he does every day, and we get to connect on these things that are so important to him that, as a kid I used to look up to, and we'd go on these awesome trips and we'd do all these things, but I never quite understood the deeper roots of why he's doing what he's doing. So it's neat that we now kind of have the same passion for the West. And I think a lot of it is kind of from watching him and now being able to interact with the people that impacted his lives too. So it's been good.
The relationship working with Mirr Ranch Group has been fantastic. I had the opportunity to cross paths with Ken Mirr a long time ago based on some water issues, and so I've had a 10-year relationship or so with Ken. I very much enjoy working with them. It's a very low pressure kind of operation, and it's really a conversation about what the unique assets are of the land, and that's something that my family values in a substantial way. And so working with Ken and Haley and the whole team, that's something that we connected on immediately, is that this is near and dear to our heart, the protection of it, and so it's been fun to work with them.
I just like people. This is a people business. That's what's really cool about this business, is you're matching buyers with these properties that inspire them, and now it's a family legacy for them. And it makes me happy that they're happy.